Okay, team, this week we are talking to Ben Nevares. He is a exercise scientist. How about that? Aren't we lucky to get someone like this on? He's based in Las Vegas. He's actually a South Texas boy originally, so he understands how the rural guys run. And Ben, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm going to make sure that my phone is on do not disturb, but I appreciate you, having some time for me today. Yes, I am from a small town called Elsa, Texas, where mainly agriculture was all the way around. I remember being in the middle of a track meet, and there's a really cool picture. We have all these kids running around on a track, and right behind them is a sugarcane field on fire. And then you'd walk throughout the school during the school year, and there would just be flakes of ash kind of everywhere all over the floor. You kind of, like they're burning, again. And so it was definitely an interesting way to grow up. My dad was a migrant for a lot of his childhood growing up. And they would travel to Michigan quite often. And I had a lot of friends that were also the same way. My high school started at a class of 420 students, and we ended up graduating with 260. A lot of people that had dropped out because of, gang violence for one. Part of it was also just because they were migrants, and so it was you either work for the family or you gotta figure something else out. So a lot of people ended up leaving school to go ahead and go work in the fields. I myself only went a couple times, picked some onions, and that's really about all I got. But it was a fun time, a good learning experience. And so I grew up in this small town, and we shared a high school with another city. Rotel is the big claim to fame. So a lot of our North American people, I don't know if it's nationwide or worldwide, but Rotel is like a mix of chili peppers and tomatoes, and it's in this can. It originated where I grew up, and the plant still exists there today. It's not being used, but it's there. And so I knew that I wanted to do something more than just being in this small town. I don't know what it was. I just knew that I want to do something good. I want to have an impact. And so I ended up getting accepted to Texas A&M University, where I went to college. And that was a massive culture shock, but still very agriculture and military is A&M. It is the original agriculture military school here in Texas. And so it was a fun experience to get to take coffee classes, maybe some butcher classes. There was a lot of opportunity in there, but I also was able to expose to the exercise physiology side. So I started doing research in genetics, and then after genetics, I did research in nutrition, specifically supplementation. And then I kind of moseyed around College Station for a long time, and I did construction for a little while, managed projects, and then ended up getting into the real estate industry, where I was selling houses and then finally building out full communities back home. And so I was lucky enough to build a really nice community of individuals the entire time. Especially in the real estate world, which might resonate with your audience. There was a lot of consumption of alcohol. I mean, it was just everywhere and anywhere. It was like you get off work and everyone's going to go down to the bar and drink some beers, or even in the middle of lunch. And I saw myself just gaining weight, not feeling the best, not being able to operate my best. And so didn't really enjoy that a whole heck of a lot. But at the time, I didn't really put two and two together, I guess. Like I kind of did, but I also kind of ignored it because I wanted to be part of the group of what everybody else was doing. I wanted friends, really, at the end of the day. I wanted community. And so I ended up getting my master's degree in exercise science and coaching education during that time. Kind of left the construction industry and ended up really doubling down in the exercise physiology world. During all of this, I guess I should mention I competed for Team USA. So I was able to represent the teams multiple times at different international competitions. So I was squatting 700 pounds, benching 500 pounds, and deadlifting 700 pounds. Good enough to be, up there getting some gold medals at the World Games. And so that was, or at Worlds with Team USA. So that was a really fun time. And then we moved to Las Vegas because my fiance was here, and she's a veterinarian, and she was just having a good time out here. And so I finally decided you're going to make sure that this thing works for us. So I ended up moving out here as well, where I started IE Health just 1 year prior. And IE Health is the brand that exists today, where we just help people be, good people and healthy, and try to make sure people move well. And yeah, so it's been a fun time.
Cool. So let's get into all of that. Around the health stuff, I teach rural sales teams, and some of those guys and girls probably don't look after themselves as much as they can. Sales is a very high energy business. You have to look after yourself. we'll get into the physiology, but like the exercise, the routines, the rituals. What do you think are some of the biggest mistakes you see people make when they want to get fit, get more energy, feel better about themselves?
They give themselves maybe too many options, right? You can do bodybuilding, you can do CrossFit, you can do powerlifting, you can do all these things. In reality, instead of like trying to figure out all, and then they're also trying to focus on the nutrition and then the water and then am I eating enough protein? Am I working out the amount of things per week? It's like, limit your options, right? Just decrease that, like hit one thing. And that one thing can be very as simple as water intake. Like I know that I don't drink enough water, so I'm going to live the rest of my life the way it is, but I'm going to add in this one thing, water. And then once that's become a habit and you feel really good about that water intake, you're going to most likely like, man, I don't know, every time I drink water and then I eat maybe dairy or whatever that food that doesn't necessarily jive with your body. For me, it's going to be dairy. Every time I have dairy, I'm more bloated, but then I drink water and it deals with the bloat. Maybe I just don't have as much dairy, right? And then so now you've done two things just because you started one. And so I think limiting the options rather than being overwhelmed by the amount of possibilities you could really, do or make a change for, I think it's a pretty big mistake.
So we have to be pretty careful because we're big dairy producers here in New Zealand. There's a few guys and girls, but I think what you're saying is in the combination, right? And we'll get into the nutrition side in a minute. We talked here about people try to do too much. So the first thing you said is limit your options, focus on doing one thing well, which is like maybe increasing your water take and just focusing on that. Like when it comes to habits, habit forming, what are the systems or structures? How does it work in terms of they're trying to form some of those good habits?
I would say there's a really interesting thing that happens whenever we talk about the things that we want to do. And so when I first started doing the podcast, I would just sit in front of the camera and like record hours and hours and hours of content about what I wanted the podcast to look like. And I never produced any of it. It just exists somewhere in some place. And during that time, I was also using voice memos quite a bit. And so I would I'm talking to myself. I'm pretty much journaling, right? But because I'm in the car, I'm looking at all these houses. Like I have a lot of time in the car. I can't journal. I can't sit and just write. And so I just turn on my phone, put on a voice memo, and then just talk to myself about how did I feel yesterday? How do I feel today? And what do I want moving forward? And it can be those three simple things. It can be 5 minutes. It can be 10 minutes. Mine ended up starting at like 5 minutes because I didn't really know what I wanted to say. And then all of a sudden towards the end there, I'm like 30, 45 minutes of me just talking to myself in a voice memo, and no one ever hears it. No one ever needs to hear it, but it was a good way for me to reflect back my goals. And then the things that I was doing today were aligning with those goals. And if they weren't, then the only person that's going to keep me honest to do those things is ultimately going to be me. Nobody else is going to necessarily come in and hold my hand. And so if I'm saying it and I recognize it, then I have to man up a little bit and take ownership of that and move forward.
You said a very interesting word there, reflection. So let's get into this. How did you develop, let's say, the mind muscle where you're like, if I talk to myself, and everyone will go, oh, that sounds crazy. And it's not, because ultimately you keep yourself accountable. The biggest person is your own self, right? And knowing oneself. When you did these voice memos and journaling, because you couldn't write them down because you're driving and doing all the stuff with the real estate, what led you to that moment where you're like, I need to think, I need to stop, and I need to think, and I need to voice memo and think about how I'm feeling, the decisions I'm making, my mindset, my energy, my preparation? Was it something that happened overnight, or something that you developed, or how did you develop that mind muscle essentially to stop and reflect? Because I tell you what, there's very few people in the world that do that.
I think that's sometimes it's hard for me to realize that that's not a practice that people do. And I think part of it is because at a very young age, I guess, I started in the gym very early on, and there's a couple things. The first thing was visualization techniques. I knew that I wanted something big, and I didn't know necessarily what that was, but I knew I liked the gym, and I knew I was pretty good at it at that, at least moderately good later on when I finally practiced more. But I was one of the weakest kids in the gym, but I wanted to be a strong guy. Everyone else started so much earlier than I did. And my dad was like, hey, just visualize it. Think about what you want to do and picture it. Really sit, what does it smell like? What does it look like? Where are you walking? How much do you weigh? Do all of these things. And then I mean, crazy enough, I mean, it happened where I was now all of a sudden flying across the world and competing. And so I think visualization techniques really helped me to really understand, okay, if I really do want to do something, then your time's going to keep on going. How many people are around me that have graduated high school and are still just working in this town? And to be fair, like if that's what you want to do, then that's great. But how much of that is a decision, and how much of that is I'm just letting life happen to me and kind of watching it go by? And so I realized that where these people, like, they would talk about, I really want to do this thing, and then the next day they're out drinking, they're out maybe doing drugs, maybe they're affiliated with the wrong people. Like, okay, if I continue to say these things but I don't do anything about it, then I'm going to become one of those people. And then if that's what I want, then great, be done. That's the trajectory. If I don't, then, well, I got to do something. And I think the gym was a big part of that for me, because if I looked at my bicep and I was like, man, I feel like I could use a bigger bicep. Well, there's a roadmap to that, right? Like, it's just go online and maybe it's like 4 sets of 8 bicep curls. And now I do that twice a week. And I can all of a sudden see my biceps getting bigger. It's like, wow, I read about something, I implemented it, and then now I'm seeing the results of that change. And I had the control to do that. Nobody else had any input into that outside of me looking into the mirror, recognizing the thing. And then I should say there are people on the internet that are giving that advice. Like at the time I was reading like bodybuilding.com and tnation.com, but it was the same thing when I got into the sales world, where like I've never been in sales. So like following up, right? Like the simplest thing that we all know as it being in the sales world.
You'll be
Like,
surprised how many people don't, honestly.
it's
Yeah.
crazy. And so when I realized that people weren't, I was like, wait, like this is a thing that they've been teaching us for how long in sales? Like in sales, like, come on. I mean, it's been as old as time. And like just sending a quick text, giving a quick call, sending an email, and then now you have built a Rolodex of like recurring business. Like that's really cool, right? And so you just take, like, you read these things and then you apply them. But I think just making sure that we really understand what our goals are, and then realizing that there's a roadmap out there. I just got to find it.
Right, let's get into this. I think some people use the example of, you've got friends who just let life happen to them and they're rudderless, and then they play the blame game. Funny enough, I was with a client for a 3-day training up in Auckland, which is our largest city here in New Zealand, and I talked about the concept of the psychological contract. Now, the psychological contract, it's where you break or violate the standards that you set for yourself. And that's when you feel shame. It's when you don't go to the gym, or you don't read the book, or you take decisions or behaviors that basically violate your sense of self and self-worth. And I think what Ben's saying here, guys, is when you don't do what you're supposed to do, you can't trust yourself. And when you lie to yourself, I think that's a pretty dangerous position. One of the things I'll read you this is James Clear from Atomic Habits, which relates to what Ben's saying here. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. And I really love that quote, because you are literally proving yourself to yourself every day, aren't you? Or you're not, or you're letting yourself down. So what I want to ask you, Ben, is for 28 years old, you've got a dad that gave you some pretty good advice around visualizing it, and like almost Michael Phelps style. You powerlifted for Team USA. You've flown all over the world. Was that influence your father, or where did this kind of awareness and betterment and optimization, where did all this come from? Where does this influence come from? Was it something that's developed, or was it part of your environmental design?
I think that it's something that can always be developed. I think that I was given an opportunity to be in the gym very early on, which ultimately helped develop that. But I also think that, for better or worse, my father influenced it as well. There are moments where I definitely didn't want to be, I guess, at home necessarily, because I would rather be in the gym, because that was my safer place. That was my place. I could feel like I could be Ben there. And so I just really leaned into that opportunity of being inside of the gym and like making the most out of it. But I think you're absolutely right. We're like, you're ultimately deciding on the person that you want to be. You take a vote of your identity. And so if this is the hat that I want to wear, then I have to really own up to that hat. I think another thing my dad taught me, or that he drilled into me at a very young age, which I absolutely hated sometimes, was don't half-ass anything. I would go out, you go clean the porch, and you go outside and you clean the porch, and you're like, all right, that's good enough. You walk out and you walk back inside. You go, because I want to play video games or whatever it was. And he would come outside. He would look at it and he was like, what did you do? And I was like, what do you mean I cleaned? And he was like, there's that. And it's like, what do you, like, you didn't clean, you like half-ass clean, sure. But what are you doing? Why is that your decision? And it's like, well, because I want to play video games. It's like, well, now we're having to sit out here for even longer to have this discussion. And then I have to do it all over again. It would have been better if you just did it right the first time. And I was like, damn, okay. Well, I guess like after enough times of hearing that, I probably realized, okay, if I just do it once and he doesn't have to like yell at me again, that's probably a pretty good thing to do. So now it's like, okay, I take the identity of being an individual who does not half-ass things. Even to validate that in a different perspective, I am somebody who completes things. Right. And so we talk about things in the positive. And so not, I don't do this, but rather the opposite of, I am a clean person. I am someone who works out. And so you take ownership of these things. And over time, you realize, oh my God, like I've been consistent now for 6 months or 3 months, right? Depending on where you're at, or even 2 weeks. Like, oh, wow, I'm really taking like ownership of this thing. And I'm not half-assed, because I mean, I don't think anybody wants to really be that. Any man doesn't really want to be that guy, right? No male, no lady really wants to half-ass anything. Like imagine if we are farmers and we're looking at our land, you're going to half-ass that thing? No, right? And so why would you half-ass the person who's taking care of it? Right? Like it's my responsibility to take care of me so that I can go out there and do my absolute best for that land, but not just for that land, but for the community that's surrounding me. That's all I got to take care of this guy, you know? So I think it means a lot.
Awesome. Tell me more about other influences, like how you keep yourself accountable. You obviously invest in yourself. That's very, very apparent. Done a lot of work on yourself. Is it books you read? Is it podcasts? Do you have like coaches? Do you have mentors? Do you have a personal board? Some of them might be alive. Some of them might be dead. I have my own personal board of people I listen to, and a lot of them are dead. Like Jim Rohn, Dale Carnegie, they're all dead, but they still advise me every day.
I like that. I like that a lot. I do. There's one gentleman that will forever an amazing human being in my life, and his name is Dr. Lightfoot. And he was a researcher. I think he's on a sabbatical living in Portugal now, but he was a professor at Texas A&M who gave me a shot. And at the time where I didn't necessarily like needed or deserved it, I don't know, like one of the like world's best genetics researchers, and there's this little kid from small town nowhere down in South Texas, and he gave me the opportunity to excel. And I think that it sent me on a trajectory where there's a sense of gratefulness that I would not be here without all these other people around me. And with that, I go day to day just having a sense of gratefulness, but also having a sense of like, I don't want to let these people down. People believed in me and have allowed me to be where I am today. At the very least, they deserve that kind of shot, I guess, that they took to be seen, to be recognized, to be appreciated. So Dr. Lightfoot's an amazing human being.
What did he teach you? What was the specific, what were these lessons, his wisdom that lives with you? Because obviously he took a shot on you, your own kid. He's obviously really good at what he does. What was it that, apart from the reciprocation of him doing that for you, what are the most valuable things he taught you? What was his influence?
The first one is to be kind. Oddly enough, it made such a big difference in my life. Now, he didn't know where I was at that moment in my life or what I thought about myself, but his kindness changed my life. The second one was being non-judgmental, or just waiting, be slow to judge. Again, from a small town from nowhere, he could have said, nah, this kid he's probably not going to be, our public education system wasn't the best, but he could have looked it up and he could have said, I'm not going to give this guy a shot. He's not going to help my bottom line. But he didn't, and he gave me a shot. Another one would probably be to always be of service. At any point in time, if I needed any assistance, I'd just go to him and I would say, I'm interested in the coaching world. And you're like, okay, here are these 3 references. Go ahead and go for it. And I would go to talk to those 3 people. He's like, oh, you're one of Dr. Lightfoot's? Like, yeah, let's sit down and have a conversation. Let's see how we can help. And that was constant for anything that I wanted to do. And so there's also a sense of patience that he taught me, that people are going to have changing ideas, and you can just be there to just, okay, if that's what you want to do, then great. Let's send you out that direction. and then you can figure out for yourself if that's something you really want to do. And if not, then I'll still be here and support you in another thing that maybe you're interested in. He was also very patient. Those are some key lessons.
I think he's taught you some pretty important things: being kind, being slow to judge, and being of service. We're massive here in our rural sales programs. We teach this concept of serve to sell. So we teach a lot of psychology. And the fact is, no one wants to be sold to, but they want to be served, and they want their best interest served, their best interest before you serve your own. And this is where most salespeople, regardless of the sector you sell in, come unstuck, because they're so busy in self-interest and selling rather than serving. So yeah, the kindness and the service, they're great advice. Now, Ben, tell us more about the Team USA, the powerlifting. How do you end up traveling around the world being a powerlifter for Team USA?
Probably even one that says I got lucky, which a little bit of that is true, but a little bit of it is also, I was kind of sent on a road a little bit. So I was growing up, and I wasn't very strong, and my uncle had said, "You're never going to be strong. You're not built to be that way. Your arm is just like," he was pointing at my forearm. You just can't. Just a small deviation in where that tendon attaches can change the amount of force production you have. And so you're just not built for it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to show you that I can do this.
Yeah.
How do you know? You can't even see inside my body. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And so I trained hard. I mean, I made it my mission to be good at this thing.
Did you use that as fuel?
I did use that fuel. I did.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. And I think if I relied on that one thing for fuel, then it would have died. Then that dream would have died. And so that's, I guess, what maybe started the love for the sport. But then I started to just really enjoy the late nights and the opportunity that I could listen to music, and I felt more confident, and like, I'm in the gym, I'm sweating, and it feels good to sweat, and it feels good to work hard. And so it was less about my uncle who like said I wasn't going to be good at it. And I was now like, I want to be good at it because I want it for me. And that maybe what I needed to start. But like at the end of the day, it got me to that point where I was self-driven enough where I wanted to do something. And then when I started winning competitions, I was like, where else does it go? Like, do you stop after high school? Like, I don't really know. And so I just Google it. I mean, it's that simple. I was like, can you compete in powerlifting outside of high school? And then what popped up was a couple different organizations around Texas at different universities that were hosting powerlifting, and they had their own powerlifting teams. And so I was like, that's kind of interesting. So I go to the website and I click on the team, like not the owner, but the leader with the captain of the team at University of Texas, and his name's Preston Turner, and I found him on Facebook, and I just sent him a Facebook message, and I was like, hey Preston, this is who I am, and I'm super interested. Like a 15-year-old kid messaging this guy in college, and he was so kind, and he gave me all the information. He's like, yeah, actually you can do it after high school, and this is how you do it. He invited me to the meet. They set me up. I mean, it was an amazing opportunity. And then my first time at Worlds, I was in Hungary, and my uncle flew out to see me. And part of me was like, you know what? I made it. I did it. Like I did the thing. But it was always like, imagine competing for Team USA. Like, who gets to do that? A little kid from this town that nobody's ever even heard of. I'm going to be that guy.
Very cool. You're very deliberate about who influences you, who advises you, who coaches you, who mentors you. You've done a lot of work. You probably could have gone down one road and you decided to go down another. You built belief in yourself. I think the big thing you're saying here is around, you then formed your own identity as a result of your uncle's criticism. And I think what you said that was very insightful is, if I just used that as motivation, that fire would have burnt out. And then the confidence and self-belief that comes from being fit. So tell me more around this exercise scientist. Like, try and break that down for us. What does that actually mean? What are some of the pillars? What are some of the most fascinating things you've learned that you could share that the listeners could understand around exercise science as an exercise scientist?
You will start to atrophy 10 days after a lack of activity. You will lose muscle mass after 10 days of not using your tissue. And that's a significant number. And so we should never go more than 10 days without being in the gym. And it could be somewhere we're just starting off and we're just training once or once or twice a week. Like, just make sure you're hitting it every 10 days. Um, After the age of 30, our body is no longer able to replicate cells nearly as fast. After 30, you are starting to decline. And you can slow that decline by slowing that atrophy. And so all I got to do is work out a little bit, 2, 3 days a week with some resistance training. And that will significantly add life, not just life, but quality lives or quality years to your life. And so making sure that we're staying in the gym to do those things, because it's not about competing for Team USA anymore. Like, for some people, sure, most people don't have that dream or that goal or that desire. It's about, can I get up and off of my truck? Can I get inside of my truck without like groaning and hurting, or changing a tire, getting down? Those are the things. Can I even lift my own groceries by myself? Like, whenever we're kids, we just want to grab it all in one go, right? And then you turn 50 years old and you're like, I can't grab them all in one go. And it's like, do you really need to?
Sounds like
No,
my
but
children.
would
Sounds
it
like
be
my
nice
children
to?
had 2 cartons of milk last night. Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen either my parents or my grandparents when I was young. I saw them decline. And that was really hard and sad to watch, where they couldn't get up out of bed on their own. And so most people, all you really need is a little bit of extra training outside of your day-to-day job. That really adds years of quality to your life. If not for you, then for your own kids. Like, it makes a significant difference.
Yeah. How do you help people that are busy? Because a lot of what I teach in my training with the raw sales guys and girls that I teach is that actually the more stressed you are, the more you need to move. And the first thing that goes out, like I call it the core four. So what I do is I talk about the core four. The first thing is sleep discipline. The next discipline is exercise discipline, and then nutrition, and then hydration. I call them the core four, and I think they're the cornerstone of energy. How do you help your guys or my guys who are driving a lot and probably sedentary a lot and are in their trucks a lot of windshield time, get that exercise in? Let's talk about the routines and rituals. How do you help some people manage that? I'm sure you cover that.
Yeah, this is exciting because this is a hard one, and this is very
Very.
common for. I mean, there's a lot of truck drivers around the U.S. as well. But there's a lot of interstate commerce, and so how do we deal with that? Is let's be realistic, and maybe let's say, if this is really part of your goals and you have the extra cash to put towards a gym membership, then maybe we look at, okay, can we grab like here we have Planet Fitness. It's going to be the easiest, cheapest, most
24/7?
nationwide.
Is it
Like,
24/7?
I think they are, but I could be wrong. I think it's called 24-hour gym. There's several different brands out there that you can make access to, right? And let's say we are going to be stopping and staying at a gas station. That's cool. You can keep bands in your car. You can keep a couple dumbbells with you. You can even do something as simple as push-ups and sit-ups and stretches. And
Excellent.
it doesn't need to be complex, right? It's, can I get 100 push-ups, 100 squats, or maybe just one of those things where I'm just still new to it and I want to can I do 50 squats? I'm going to stop and get gas. It's going to take me X amount of time. I know I'm going to go to the restroom and do whatever I got to do. I've been sitting for a long time. What if I did 2 stretches and 50 squats?
Yeah, 100%. When you have the least energy is when you don't want to exercise. What my late father said, he was very influential on me. He was hard on me, but I think he had some truth. He said, Sinja, never forget exercise for energy. Never forget exercise for energy. So that when you feel your lowest and you've been doing those 4 or 5 hour drives out to the ranch, out to the farmers and back, what Ben's saying is do something, move, make a promise to yourself, stretch, do your squats, do your press ups. You got a hotel room floor, or you go for a run and take your sneakers and runners. Exactly. Just start doing a little thing and then build upon that thing. Is that right, Ben?
That's right. I mean, it can be as simple as a walk. It really
I know.
can be,
Just
you
literally
know?
walk around the complex from your motel unit or your hotel unit, anything else, or take the stairs and stuff like this. But people, they would rather. It's really interesting as I've grown a bit older, finally, and grown up. My favorite place used to be the hotel bar. My favorite place now is the hotel gym.
Nice.
And if I can't get out for a run and it's winter, then I'll go to the gym, and you feel a hell of a lot better, and that energy will push you right through. Because when it comes to sales, you need a lot of energy. Now, talk to me about some other routines and rituals, habits, behaviors that you could leave as good practical ideas for the listeners. What else do you teach your teams, your students?
I like to teach just higher protein intake than anything else. Right, it's super simple, especially for my older clients that are going to have a little bit more, degradation. Alzheimer's is known as the as type 3 diabetes now. And they were saying that there's a lot of reason for that is because of the amount of sugar that we consume, that it increases the inflammation in and around the brain. And so you end up degrading your tissue around your brain much quicker. And so just making sure that we have a more of a complex carb. So let's just stay away from the sweets. Let's have water. Let's have more protein, right? Like those are the simple things. You don't need to do a fad diet. You don't need to do any of that. You can still have a sweet. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just ultimately limiting that option, especially if I'm on the road and I'm driving. I need to remember, like, I'm only burning so much energy. Now, you do need carbohydrates because the brain's main fuel source is going to be glucose, and so we need that sugar, especially if we're driving. We want that, right? But I want a good, healthy carbohydrate that's going to break down over a longer period of time, rather than I'm 4 hours into a drive or to work or another sales call, and you have this like huge spike because you had a lot of sugar and a lot of caffeine, and then now it's like a huge drop, and now you're yawning in the middle of a sales call. That's never good. You know? And so we have a healthy carbohydrate. It could be a sweet potato. It could be just a regular potato, but that's going to burn over a slower period of time. And so if you also pair that with maybe some good fiber or some good protein, like that's going to really elongate the amount of energy you have. And so by the end of the day, you're like, man, you know what? Like I can still get a workout in. I still feel pretty good. My last meal was 4 hours ago. I'm ready. And you can be, I'm ready for push-ups, I'm ready for squats, or I'm ready to hit the gym. I like to, as soon as I land, wherever I'm going, wherever we land, I go to the gym. And that helps me with adjusting with time differences. So if you
Wow.
do have people
So
who are
as soon as you
traveling,
land and you get to your hotel, you're at the gym.
we're going to the gym.
Wow. And when you say we, you mean you and your partner or you and your team?
Yeah, me and my partner.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome that you work out
yeah.
together. That's bloody amazing. I got it. Talk to me about some nutritional hacks. I know, and I might be doing you a disservice here as an exercise scientist. Some nutritional hacks that people could use when they're on the road, that are traveling, there's traveling salespeople that are doing big distances. I've got a few ideas, but you'll have a much more qualified view on this.
So there's a lot of options here, and we ultimately got to find the thing that we like the most, right? Because if you can all day, I can tell you you're going to do pita wraps with lettuce or whatever, and if you hate it, then you're not going to do it. You're going to do it for 2 times, and then you're never going to want to do it again. And so it's finding a good balance. I like beef jerky. If I can do a jerky, that's where I'm going every single time. And so just getting some meats, some proteins, because we obviously need fat as well, and that's going to help me with better hormone regulation. The more fat that I have, it's a good thing, right? Healthy, clean fats are what you want. And so especially if we're driving, we want to be healthy and give ourselves the right kind of fats. A good fish oil or a krill oil, super great for the brain. It can help with neurogenesis, so the creation of new brain cells. So that's a really great option, especially if you want to stay smart and stay good and stay sharp. That's going to be rather important. Things that I do, I love right now, I'm on a seaweed kick. I know it's not necessarily filling, but it's something salty, it's crunchy, it's a
Oh,
snack,
I used to
and
love eating seaweed at
it's the
Chinese
best.
restaurants when I was in UK. It is delicious.
So good. And you're not getting a lot of calories, but if you are somebody who likes that bag of chips or who likes that salty snack, this could be a good, quick replacement. It's so easy. I mean, I buy like 3 packages here at Costco for like $10 a piece or something like that. And they last me forever. And so I really like those guys quite a bit. And then just how often is it for people to like pre-package meals? Is that pretty common or not so much? What do you see?
No, we are not great at meal planning. A lot of people will do truck stops and cafe stops and buy pies and energy drinks and stuff like that, which is just an artificial energy and it's not got low GI and stuff like that. I think the point you're making is if you can just literally surround yourself by better food choices. I have a lot of protein bars, a lot of nuts, a lot of raisins, a lot of fruit around me. If I've got to do a big trip across Australia, I make sure I've got good things in the car with me as opposed to bad things in the car. So substitution is a really, really big thing for me. But I mean, it's really funny. I think when you start looking after yourself, then the food tastes different. The bad food doesn't taste as good and the good food tastes better. And I don't know what the psychology behind that is. Maybe you know, but like, is there something going on there? Because when I am fit, I'm going to eat better. And then my body starts to recognize that some of these foods aren't so good for me. And I almost Well, I feel it, I sense it, I taste it. It's really interesting.
Because there's more of a reaction, right? You had clean, good, healthy food for a little while, and then all of a sudden you give yourself maybe a bad dose of too much sugar. It'll cause a significant change in what's going on with your brain and your hormones, and like all of a sudden you go from maybe a baseline blood sugar level to like I'm going to probably speak in hyperbole, let's say 5 times normal than what you are. You're going to feel that effect and it's not going to feel good. And you think that you're going to feel good, but you have hyperglycemia where you just have so much sugar in your blood. I remember doing like really, really well with my own meal planning. And then I had like a donut one time, and that one donut made me feel like I couldn't think. I was foggy. I felt gross. I was sweating. I was like, all I had was a donut. But my body was not used to that any longer. And so we don't realize that we feel like shit until we start feeling good. And then all of a sudden, I start eating clean. And then if I go back and eat the same meal that I was when I was consistently not feeling good, all of a sudden I feel that same way. And it's a really good way to like, it's a good framing for me whenever I go back into maybe I eat something unhealthy and I'm like, oh man, I don't feel so good today. Maybe.
Good reminder of how that tastes and how that feels. But I often think if you skip those core 4 where you didn't get good sleep, I always feel terrible in the morning if I haven't good sleep. And I'm a pretty good sleeper because I exercise. But if I haven't slept well, I don't exercise well, and you don't get those 2 things right, the nutrition, the hydration really, really suffer as a result.
Massively.
Like, almost like you feel fatter when you wake up because you've had a bad sleep.
Oh yeah, I mean you're burning a lot of calories, and the important job to have during that time. We have a pretty massive, especially for men, a massive increase in testosterone, and then a massive increase in growth hormone for both men and women. And so, like, it's going to be important for that recovery, that recharge, that feel good. If I'm significantly low in that testosterone, you're going to feel more lethargic, right? But that's because of the bad sleep, and the bad sleep causes less testosterone.
Yeah. Setting a going to bed alarm and going to bed at the same time and waking up at the same time, even in the weekends. These are just basic building blocks. And again, we've stressed the importance of energy. I think energy is the cornerstone of everything. And you are your most important client. You are the most important product of any sales process is the salesperson. And so if you're turning up with energy and you look after yourself and you're fit and well and you're strong, there's naturally, it's going to correlate into higher success and performance. Now, Ben, you've been very patient with me as we close out. If you have one piece of advice for listeners, they are rural sales teams. They're in the States, they're in Canada, they're grain handling equipment, they're machinery. They're probably spending a lot of time traveling, maybe not looking after themselves. Some of them do. Some of them are exceptionally good and disciplined, and some of them aren't. What would your best advice be? What would be some of your lessons you would leave them with to think about or reflect on as they're listening to us, as they're driving or listening and hearing our conversation?
If you are listening to this right now and you are in your car, or maybe you're not, look around your car, right? Look around the truck, look around. What's one thing that you could change? Because you can do that right now, today. The next stop you make, maybe you eat super clean, but you don't move very much. Well, the next stop, you have an opportunity to make that decision today. It doesn't have to wait for tomorrow. It's not next week. It's not next month. Take the identity of the person that's doing it today, and you will see massive changes in just months. I mean, like, it doesn't take very long. And even just, it could be days where you start making commitments to yourself that make a significant difference for you today. Not just for you, but for those around you, for your clients. It matters. So make a change today.
Awesome, Ben. Ben, where can people gobble up more of this stuff, like some of your free resources, get into your world, understand some of those tips, those tools that you've shared? If they're interested in exercise, science, and want to go deeper onto this stuff, where do we send them? Where do they go?
So they can check out my podcast, the Ben Thinking Podcast. So Ben is my first name, so Ben Thinking Podcast, anywhere you want to find it. And then you can look at iehealth.co as well. And on there we have some free resources. You can also reach out to us on there, and then one of me or my team will get back to you. So we can set up a call and we can see how we can provide maybe even we do free consultations. So just to get a good understanding where you're at and where to go. So you can find us there.
Awesome, Ben. How do you keep your learning rituals up? Because you're a busy guy. You've got 4 companies. You're a supplement business. You've got an exercise center. You've got a fiance that's a doctor and a veterinarian. you travel, like, how do you make sure that you make and take time to learn?
It's not an option. I mean, it's just part of who I am. I mean, it's I don't decide like, oh, I gotta read again. It's like I read because I own a business. Like, what do you mean? Like, that's part of my work towards my companies. Like, I'm leading these things. I would be doing a disservice to them and ultimately myself if I didn't do those things. And so, yeah, it's not an option. So I find, even if it's 20 minutes, even if it's 10 minutes, like, I am notoriously not the best reader, but I can take 10 minutes to either listen to a book or I can read something. I can take a page or two. Like, there's so many options for you to just at night, instead of like watching some TV, or during a commercial break, you read a couple paragraphs. Like, there's ways you can fit it in anywhere. I mean, there really are. So it could be as simple as listening to a book, especially while you're driving.
What an impressive young man you are. And a good on Dr. Lightfoot as well for seeing you, and he obviously saw something about you that he liked, and you have obviously paid him back in spades and more. So well done on you, on the impact that you're having on the world and the way that you're living your life, and we really appreciate you sharing your story with us and giving us your time.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate all the kind words. Shout out to Dr. Lightfoot. He will forever be one of those people. I love him.
Awesome, Ben. Thank you.